Nikkei is actually looking the worst. It's 170 points lower, so not looking so good there. Shanghai has moved back into the green.
The gross NPA ratio of banks has been falling over the last 2 years and was recorded at 7.5% as of September 2020.
Nifty perhaps at 14,000 you will see some program profit taking, some algo-driven profit taking.
Yeah, look, money supply is booming everywhere, and I've been looking at it's booming in Asia, also in Japan.
Index is 13,975, so that's shouting distance from 14,000.
In March, we were at the peak of our pessimism at 8,000 Nifty, and now we are talking about 14,000 as we close the year.
We've had 12 launches till date. And the most important, of course, is albuterol.
We're expecting global growth to be at 6.4% in 2021.
Bulls are fighting back. The Nifty's recovered about 45 points from the day's low.
There seems to be very good traction both in terms of wholesale and retail for the passenger vehicle segment.
The licensing of the vaccine made by Serum Institute of India should be far away.
It's been slightly volatile, the day's trade.
Okay, well, what happened today is a bit of a script. The market opened very close to 14,000 and then some algo-driven or some program profit-taking, which took it back to almost yesterday's low. In fact, even we breached that and now we're making a comeback once again, and this is perhaps second attempt at 14,000. On the Bank Nifty as well, there was a dip and that's once again been bought. That's not in green yet, but who knows, could well turn in the green in the last hour of trade. So it's been a good day once again. Closing bell, I'm Anuj and Surbhi is joining me. Surbhi, hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm just looking at the biggies and what they're doing right now, Anuj, because if we are going to take aim at peak 14,000, then, bigger stocks have to move. Yeah. So it's kind of mixed out there. Reliance, little lackluster. HDFC Bank is doing its bit. So let's see how it goes. But, it's been, a choppy day within the range, Anuj. Yeah. Also, volumes obviously on the lower side, second last day of the year. So this 14,000 for whatever it's worth, considering we're also getting expiry tomorrow, you think it can happen in 2020?
No, it should happen. I think the point I was making yesterday as well, there's a good chance that today the Nifty spends most part of day between 13,900 to 14,000, say, and somewhere around Surbhi 13,970, 980. What that does is that in that case, all you need is a gap up. Psychological marks are taken out with gap ups. Because every time you go there, there's temptation to book profit. And that is why, you normally see that, all-time highs, all these big psychological marks, they are taken out with gap up. So I think that could happen. 14,000 is still a possibility, I think, in this expiry. I won't put it past the Nifty to do that. I think my eyes also on the Bank Nifty, because once again, that dip has been bought. And I think if you start to now take out the high, I think 31,500 is again where there's been some call writing, but it's possible that, in last hour you make some move and then the rest of this is done tomorrow. One good thing which happened is that today the mid-cap index opened straight away 200 point lower. It looked like advanced decline was deteriorating, but then there's been a comeback in the mid-cap market as well. So I think that's given some confidence for the large caps as well.
Okay, and the other good thing that happened is finally the Oxford vaccine is moving forward. I mean, UK has given its approval, and it's a very big news for us here in India because we know that rollout program will perhaps start. We did hear from Cyrus Poonawala himself. They're waiting to hear from the Indian government actually, but the Serum Institute is pretty much ready to start rolling out the whole program. In any case, European markets did react to that piece of news, though it's very, very thin out there as well because of the year-end factor playing out. Mild green on the markets that are trading in Europe right now. Yeah, that's the picture. Very, very flat on the CAC and the DAX actually. On that note, let's get started and tell you what we've lined up for you. On closing bell today, the market has recovered from the lows of the day, trading with a mild positive bias at the moment. IT and auto stocks show relative strength. Cement is seeing some traction in the last 1 hour. We'll be discussing, of course, all of these trends with our market experts as we go along. Now, double-digit growth is expected to continue for tractors, two-wheelers, as well as passenger vehicles for the month of December. We're talking about auto sales. So what to expect from the wholesale numbers that come out in 2 days' time? We will get you some perspective and analysis on that. Also, Balkrishna Industries is buzzing. Nomura has initiated a buy on the stock. We get you highlights from that brokerage report and also, of course, some opinion around it. And then, as I just mentioned, UK medicine regulator has approved the Oxford University AstraZeneca vaccine for emergency use. We get you more from Serum Institute's Cyrus Poonawalla. And the fundamental talk today coming up with N. Jayakumar, who believes this market can actually sustain these levels and even build on this big rally of 2020.
Okay, but first up, how should you position yourself in this last hour of trade? We have Mitessh Thakkar now joining us with closing strategies. Mitessh, good afternoon. Once again, the dips getting bought. Your thoughts on the index and your stock calls now?
Good afternoon, Anush. I think you rightly highlighted that the dip got bought and we kind of didn't have an closing below 3900 on the hourly chart, so we're still maintaining that level. We're still getting overbought, but as I said, I'm waiting for this 3950, 14,000 zone to be cleared before we take a long on the index per se. So waiting out for that, or there could be still a chance of another dip coming in. So playing out that way. The Bank Nifty, I think as long as it's above 31,000, stay long. I think that's the one which could slightly outperform the Nifty. Though today, I think Nifty is about 0.25% higher than the Bank Nifty. On stock side, I have two buy calls on FMCG names. Dabur is a buy with a stop at 529 for targets of 550, and Godrej Consumer is a buy with a stop at 740 for targets of 780.
Okay, so those are Mitesh's calls. Let's invite our expert now, fundamental expert Prakash Diwan is now joining us. Prakash, good afternoon. India Cements, your thoughts on that stock? In fact, the entire pack is looking quite active, but this whole theory about what Mr. Damani's plan is with the company, obviously getting market excited. But what would be your view on the stock?
So Anuj, good afternoon. Yes, I think it's no doubt something that is in the right spot and has the right backers in terms of the kind of investors that it's been attracting, and a significant allocation has been made by Mr. Damani to this. But if you look at the kind of strength that it has vis-a-vis some of the other names, let's say, let me take a smaller name like a Ramco, same territory, same kind of this thing, maybe differentials in capacities because given the biological lifespan of the units, which is separate. When you buy cyclicals like cement, you need to make sure that you go in for the most efficient place, because as the tide rises, it's the efficient boats which are going to take on the lead. And from that angle, it's probably an Ultratech on the large cap that is always a favorite, or a Shree Cement given its efficiencies, or a smaller name like Ramco if you were to take a specific bet in the southern markets. And I keep on pointing out Dalmia Bharat, which is doing its own thing to kind of gain market share, improve distribution and things. So I wouldn't really piggyback on this. If you had to buy India Cement, it was way back when he had just started allocating. I know today there's a lot of buzz going around. Even Spencer Retail, the other name where his name is associated, is also a buzz with some sort of volume. So it keeps on happening, but you have to live with these sparks in the market, which is all, close to all-time highs. But I would look at some other names.
India Cements, this one's an absolute eye-popper really today with that move of nearly 20%, still counting. By the way, other cement stocks are also rising. Grasim, Ultratech, most of these other names, but nothing compares to, of course, what we've seen in India Cements today. There's some green on some of the other big cement manufacturers. Let's move on now. The other sector in focus today is, of course, auto, and there's buying ahead of the auto sales data for December. In fact, Eicher, Maruti, M&M, bits of green on most of your frontline auto counters coming up today. So let's do one thing. Let's bring in Sonia, first of all, to get a curtain raiser going on what to expect. Sonia, I guess the industry is keeping fingers crossed that the good tidings of November will run into December as well.
Well, first up, the numbers are expected to come out on the 1st of Jan, but given that almost the entire country could be shut on the 1st of Jan, I mean, you and me will be working, but most companies are shut. I don't know if they'll actually report on the 1st or not, which is Friday. Having said that, the numbers are expected to be quite good, Surbi. There's a double-digit growth expected in two sectors, which is passenger vehicles and tractors. These are the wholesale dispatches that we're talking about. On the retail front, the expectation is that things could be slightly weaker. on the passenger vehicle and two-wheeler front. Now, Nomura and MK have put out some notes, so I just want to give you a synopsis of that. Nomura is expecting a double-digit growth in the passenger vehicle sector to the tune of almost 21% for the overall industry. Within that, they're expecting M&M and Maruti to perform the best. So, M&M growth of almost 12% for utility vehicles and 28% for tractors. And for Maruti, they are expecting a domestic volume growth of 17% year-on-year, coming in at 146,000 units. Now, the growth will also be because of the favorable base effect due to inventory destocking that we saw last year. So, that will be another reason why the growth will look quite sharp. MK put out a note where they say that one of the big beneficiaries of the recovery in the rural market will be escorts. So they are looking at almost a domestic volume growth of 21% year-on-year for escorts. So these are a couple of stocks that could do well on the back of the December sales. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Sonia, thanks very much for that. Look at auto stocks over the month gone by, and actually Maruti and Bajaj have been the best performers, gains between 8 and 9%, whereas Escorts obviously has lagged, M&M has been flat. So different performance depending on which company and which stock you are picking up. Prakash, what are you most convinced on? And if you want to add one auto stock to the portfolio come 2021, Jan 21, which one would it be?
So, Jan actually is going to herald a very different round of buying from people, and as the vaccine also kind of starts getting accepted and digested in terms of normalization, I think PVs will see that uptick. But my bet is on M&M, and I've consistently been backing this name for the simple reason that Escorts has run up so much on the back of the recent history that it created on sales. So it will have to live up to that expectation. Any drop in sales numbers, any disappointment will actually cost it quite dearly. M&M on the other side is seeing some major tailwinds that are supporting it, and primarily it's that capital reallocation strategy, focusing on the right kind of businesses. And if they get some breakthroughs on the EV side as well during the year, I think it will be another trigger for re-rating the stock. So I would believe, and when you buy that stock, I keep on pointing out, you have some underlying businesses that you get along with the auto business, and that's also kind of, all of those are in the right spots, whether it's holiday resorts, whether it's TechM, whether it's life spaces. So all put together, I think it does offer you a decent risk reward at current levels as well.
Okay, well, since we are on the subject of autos, let's discuss one auto ancillary stock as well. One of the gainers today in the FNO space is Balkrishna Industries. Now, Nomura had written a note yesterday, and so we saw that move play out in today's trade, but the stock's up 3%. Sonia will tell us what Nomura is saying, and then I'll ask Prakash for his view. Sonia.
So they have a very optimistic view on the agri-tire export business, and Balkrishna Industries is one of the big beneficiaries there. They have a target price of 1728 on Balkrishna Industries, so they're still expecting about a 7 to 8% up move in the stock. They say that agri-tire export revenues are up 28% year-on-year in November, and key European countries like Italy and France are seeing very strong exports. Even Germany saw a growth of 13% in November versus a 3% decline in September. UK and the US are also up 4% and about 33% respectively in the month of November. Of course, the new virus strain, etc., will be a near-term headwind, but in the medium term, they expect Balkrishna Industries to be a big beneficiary because it generates 80% of its revenues from exports and stands to benefit from the current recovery. Nomura also believes that the valuations of Balkrishna Industries are attractive given the strong growth outlook and the high double-digit return ratios. So that's one of the reasons why the stock is trading in the green today. Back to you.
Okay, Sonia, thanks a lot for that. Prakash, your view on Balkrishna?
So Anuj, while I do concur with the argument that the broking house has put forth in terms of the kind of growth, but remember one thing, we've seen the stock growing on the back of the price growing on the back of this expectation for quite some time. And given the fact that, Europe is not something which you could kind of completely rely on because the new mutant is actually having an impact in a very different way. It's generally unsettling a lot of people and especially the governments out there. And if you recall yesterday, the gentleman from Endurance, the management had come on your channel and they actually said Europe is a bit of a concern. So let it get some time. And in any case, Nomura's target of 8% is not a great risk reward. So in case the stock is at 1500, then you probably make some better money with that target notwithstanding. So I would buy it on dips is my summation of this whole thing. It's a great business, but I would want to buy it at a reasonable risk reward relationship.
You know, Prakash, genome, vaccine, genome sequence, mutant, like Anuj and I were laughing about it the other day. It almost feels like we're in a surreal sci-fi movie, right? That's what 2020 has been all about. We'll take a break. In fact, we'll tell you the latest on that because there's good news that came in from AstraZeneca and it could be very interesting for the market as well. So what is this COVID trade, the vaccine trade all about? We'll discuss that with Prakash. And also, just a reminder that we will be chatting with N. Jayakumar, Managing Director of Prime Securities today. He's quite constructive and optimistic on the market. So that conversation coming up as well.